a bunch of things happened all at once. The door opened, the light came on, and the gun fired all at once. Pop, 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 pop. It was 2 to the head, 3 to the chest, and 1 left in the chamber. And I was standing with my door open, looking over Jimbo's shoulder when it happened. So I literally was looking down the barrel of the gun when it happened.
All right, it's the Fit for Radio podcast. We're back in studio, of course, at the Stafford Hills Club, which is a beautiful place. If you've never been here, they got the saltwater pool, brand new renovations in all of the weight rooms. And quite honestly, I love just to come here, escape from all of your real responsibilities, and maybe catch a swell in here while you're at it. Also, indoor, outdoor tennis facility, state-of-the-art stuff. You got to check it out, StaffordHills.com. And if you send me a message, I'll get you half off your initiation at StaffordHills.com. Right now, we are in studio. I'm really excited for this one. A guy who I met many years ago. I'm going to put it at maybe 15, maybe 17 years ago, a long time ago, back when I lived in Eugene, hosting radio shows there. And his name is Colby Brown. Welcome to the studio, Colby.
Thanks, Drew.
Now, what I did know about you is that you had a pretty interesting upbringing. You were one of those guys who I could tell had a lot in his story, but also kind of had that fun-loving guy thing about you. And I've come to find out that some of that maybe also could be considered a bit of a defense mechanism, a way to cope for what we're going to review today. Now, Colby and I met, like I said, in Eugene, Oregon. But before that, bud, you went for a ride. You all over the place. We're going to start right at the beginning.
Okay.
You were born in 1971.
Yeah.
In Redlands, California. And from the very beginning, your mother, which her name is Linda.
Yeah.
So in the notes that you sent me,
yeah,
you never once refer to this woman as your mother.
You picked up on that.
You only refer to her as Linda. Now,
yeah.
I will have to refer to her as your mom.
It's easier.
So that people can understand what we're talking about.
And I sometimes do too, but it's...
And so no disrespect. Know that in my mind, she's a Linda.
Yes.
Okay?
Yep.
But for all intents and purposes, right now, I'm going to have to kind of go back and forth on it. Now,
yeah.
You say here at the beginning, when you were born, that your father's name was not on the birth certificate. Is that correct?
That's correct. So to understand, my mom is a really vast and complex thing. But the first step is to understand that she has to have ultimate control over every situation, kind of thing. So his name was left off the birth certificate. She knew fully who he was and everything like that. There's pictures of him holding me when I was a baby and stuff like that. But she didn't want anybody to have any say over anything she did or when she did it. So she immediately basically got away from him. And then it was just, the Linda show from then on. So that way, no one can ever say, hey, where's my kid?
Yeah. So here's a question about that. So did you never find out? Do you ever find out who your actual birth father is? Did he get a short list or?
Never met him. I only have pictures of him and stuff. And
so you have a person.
Yeah. I know who he is. His name is Rod Brown. He lived in Hawaii for a little while. His mom's name is Patty. He was going to be a massage therapist or a physical therapist. But like I said, she ditched him,
shut it down,
bailed out. I still hear stories of him, to this day. Some days like, oh yeah, it's old timers that, knew my dad or whatever. And it's very odd because he's always described as a really kind and loving guy and stuff. And my mom's like, oh, he was a psycho. And I had to get away from him as fast as possible. I'm like, okay. So my mom always told me that dialogue. So I'm like, oh, I'm the kid of a psycho, who's.
And you believe that obviously absolutely. As a child, because that's your only.
When you have only one source of information, it's your absolute world. So everything my mom told me was true. I mean, up until when I finally figured out, until the disillusionment kind of hit or whatever. But that was late 20s.
And now, because we're going to pick back up the story to kind of give an idea of what you did go through and how your childhood was different than so many of ours. I grew up, and I'm just going to be honest, in a very nuclear standard issue family.
Yeah.
You know, two parents. Now, not standard. Standard as in there were four boys, and my parents probably went nuts on that. But
Right.
still, very standard minivan, soccer practice.
Yeah. Good
You
thing.
know, all checking all those boxes. Now, when you're 5 years old, something happens to you. But before that, is your mom dating around, or is she
So my mom dated prolifically. So
just
she
always had
always,
someone
always,
around?
always. And in small towns, some of the reasons why we had to leave these small towns in the middle of the night was because she'd be dating two or three married dudes from the town, and the bounce checks would all catch up with us. And then next thing you know, it was grab your Legos, we're out of here. And
Mm,
literally in the middle of the night, it was my Legos, and we were gone.
really?
Yeah,
And that
Many-
happened multiple
that happened
times.
3 times that I can think of for sure. That was in Florida.
Okay, so when you're 5 years old, um, you're in Hawaii. So your mom moved you guys to Hawaii when you were a kid, just kind of sucked you out of
Yep.
wherever that realm of where your father could have been
Yep.
is no longer there. When you're 5, you got attacked by a swarm of bees.
Yeah, we're hiking on a trail in Molokai with her boyfriend du jour, and we're kind of walking down this little rocky, picturesque, like a creek is running along, and there's trees overhanging, and it's just a great day, you know. And I was wearing these little khaki shorts with a little key ring thing on them.
Okay.
They were just these old, silly things from that era or whatever. And I remember looking down, I was wearing flip flops. I remember exactly the day, and saw something on the ground. I was like, oh, cool. Boom. I kicked it. It was a beehive. And then I got attacked. But the point of the story is that instead of taking me to any kind of a medical facility or, gosh forbid, call a doctor, they decided that the best thing to do was just to slather me with baking soda mud and lay me next to the pool in the sun, where I can get some good sunshine.
Sounds like standard protocol.
For sure.
Right. Yeah. Do not call the authorities. And also, it's like as soon as you take a kid somewhere, then people might ask questions about everything else that happens.
And that was the story of my life. My mom, under no circumstances was I ever supposed to, draw any attention. And this is a theme that I get told later too by an interesting fellow. But yeah, the whole point is that there was no CPS, there was no hospitals, no anything. And I remember one time my mom saying, "Our people don't call cops. Our kind of people don't call the cops.
Okay.
We're not those kind of people." And that
Which doesn't help when there's an emergency.
Yeah, and it became really more clear later. A quick story right after that is my little sister got a hold of a half of a Quaalude back in the day in one of the houses we lived in, and she was not taken to the doctor either. She had to ride it out. This little girl, she was probably 7. Or no, she was much younger. She's probably 5-ish. And she ran around the house crying and crashing into things, and it was hysterical. And I remember asking my mom, what's going on with Bree? Because I loved her. She was my baby sister.
Yeah, I mean,
like
big bro.
I felt like I was the one who was supposed to take care of her because my mom obviously was not. And so I'm like, what's wrong with Bree? And it's like, oh, don't worry. And I found out later she had gotten a hold of a half a Quaalude, and I could have killed her, but we didn't call the cops. We didn't go to the doctor. None of that.
Well, Child Protective Services, they do not love when kids take Quaaludes.
They're like,
which you can't even find one now.
They don't even exist. Who knows what a Quaalude is?
My kids have had 0 Quaaludes.
Yeah,
so far.
That's the recommended intake.
But it helps that you can't get them anywhere. And as time goes on here, though, when you're 7 years old, it's still just 1978. You moved to an LA apartment where you almost drowned.
Yeah. So my mom, I guess I can explain. She had the 7-year itch. Every 7 years, for 3 times in a row, she had a kid.
Oh, okay.
So at one point,
it's always the gap.
At one point, we were 7, 14, and 21.
Okay.
So, and each time recreating the exact same circumstances. Leave the father, moving on. And
he's evil. Let's go.
He's evil. We're out of here. Boom, boom, boom. And then what happened with my older sister was she was given a choice. So my older sister was born in Lake Tahoe to a guy named Dennis. It was the dad at that time. So as soon as she was born, my mom found Rod, my father.
Okay.
And was pregnant with me when my older sister was 7. And my mom said, "I'm going back to Hawaii to have this baby. Do you want to come with me, or do you want to stay here in Lake Tahoe with your friends and the high school and your aunt and your dad and your whole family and all the things that you know and love that are normal to you as a little 7-year-old girl? Do you want to stay here with that, or do you want to come with mom to Hawaii?"
Mm-hmm.
She's like, "No, I want to stay." And so giving a child a choice like that is just
Shouldn't
it's the
be.
most horrible thing you can do. I mean,
No.
because then the child always, did I leave my mom? Did she leave me? What, where do I stand? What do I do?
You lose no matter what.
Yeah,
If
you
you,
lose no
you
matter
leave the
what.
family, you
Right.
never forget about that. You leave your mom, you never forget about that.
Right. So fast forward to the apartments. We get to California, or we're living in these apartments in California, and Marnie's coming to visit. And I'm a little kid. I forget how old I was, but she's coming to visit, and
You're a 7-year-old kid here.
yeah. So I'm 7. So bingo, she's 14. I fall in the pool. The maintenance guy at the time grabs me, yanks me out of the pool by my clothing, and throws me on the ground. And I was just like a wet rat. I had my shoes on, socks, full clothing, everything. And we go upstairs, and I'm in a mess load of trouble. I got wet. I'm in the pool. And Marnie, my older sister, is like, yeah, he got in the pool. He's in trouble. And he was bad and everything like that. And I just remember being so confused because I couldn't remember it properly.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's hard to process at that age as well.
So years later, so years later, I'll just fast forward really fast to this, so we get to get her. But we're sitting at a bar at her wedding, and she's wasted, drunk, and she's sent for me and her family to come to Lake Tahoe to see her get married to a guy named Royal Kukoff, who was the cocaine king of Lake Tahoe at the time. Oh yeah, he was a swell guy. So she was going to have a big wedding, and so at the rehearsal dinner afterwards, it was football season, and there was a football party. He cleared out of the bar earlier than we were there, and we were there just tying one last one on at the end of the whole rehearsal dinner. And it's me and my sister, and we're sitting there at the bar, and everybody's winding down, leaving. It's late, early morning. And she's sitting there, and there's a giant football-shaped bowl of guacamole in front of her, and the bartenders are moving everything down to the end of the bar. They're wrapping things up. They just want us to leave. And I'm sitting there because I'm the designated driver, so I'm sitting there with my sister, and she's just like so sauced. And she's sitting there, her eyes are thing, and her head's bobbing like this, and she can barely keep her head up, and she looks at me, and she starts telling me the story about how I fell in the pool.
Mm-hmm.
She goes, "You little bastard." She goes, "I thought you were going to drown." I go, "What?" She goes, "I pushed you in the pool." She goes, "And I stepped on your fingers." And suddenly the memory came back. And I remember being in the water, looking up at the edge of the pool, grabbing the curb of the pool, and someone stepping on my fingers. And I never knew who.
Jeez.
And I went, "Oh, huh." And it all came back to me. The memory flushed back to me.
Did she say why?
She says, because I look like my dad. Because when she got the choice to be given whether to stay in Lake Tahoe or not, or go with her mom, she knows that I went with that I was the reason that she was leaving. And so she goes, "Yeah, you look."
She had that resentment.
She goes, "You look just like your dad, you MRF," or whatever she called me at the time, and it was like, oh, wow. And then she passed out, and her face fell in the guacamole. So I sat there, and I looked at her face in the guacamole, and she did that big exhale. Now, you know how thick guacamole is, so it just does that thing,
Percolating.
It just percolates, and I'm like, in a second, she's going to do the inhale. Do I let her inhale the guacamole?
Mm-hmm. And repay the favor?
Bingo. Or do I pull her head out?
Are you the avocado bro?
So I grabbed her by the hair, and I pulled her hair up, not so gingerly, and just looked at her face, and she's like, she's got guacamole. I'm like, "Yeah, you were the prom queen of freaking Lake Tahoe. Congratulations."
Yeah. Oh, man. The Fit for Radio podcast is brought to you by the Stafford Hills Club. I just spent the entire morning here before doing the podcast, drop the kids off at school, come to the club. My 2-year-old gets to go to the kids club. I go up. You can hit the exercise bike to warm yourself up, hit those brand new free weights in the fully remodeled gym. And of course, Amy's taking the classes right down the hallway. And then downstairs, when you're done, of course, you've got the nice locker rooms with the saunas and the steam room. You can come out. There's a little snack bar, cafe, and it's a place where people come together to work out, to improve themselves, and to make some friends. So if you like the idea, there's a reason that they were voted the #1 health and wellness facility in the Portland area. Check them out today, and I can hook you up with half off your initiation fee. So come hang out with me every morning. StaffordHills.com. And you didn't have it easy, that's for sure. Now this stuff continues as you move. Now you've been in Hawaii, you've been in Los Angeles, and now your mom, Linda, decides that she's going to move you guys to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, because she's met a guy named Norris.
Yep.
Now, is Norris is another boyfriend?
So Norris turns out to be Bree's dad,
Okay.
the youngest of the three. So there was Bree, Marnie, and me.
Okay. So on the 7-year split, that's
Yeah, and I'm in the middle.
okay.
Right. So Norris is Bree's dad. We live in these apartments, and it's like a long row of apartments with another long row of apartments right next to it. So it just kind of creates like this big yard in the middle.
Mhm.
In the middle of the yard is a little, uh, folding chair with a little umbrella and stuff, and this little old lady in her quilted house coat sitting out there with a 6-pack of Budweiser. Her name was Myrtle. She was like the mayor. She just kind of was like always at her station out there in the sunlight.
Ran that yard.
She just ran the yard and everything. And then up in the front corner were these bikers that all lived there. And we lived way in the back. Well, it didn't take my mom long to figure out that the bikers lived there. And so she starts banging this guy named Jimbo, who's like this Sam Elliott kind of in the face, got that sparkly grandfather look, but could definitely whoop your ass.
Mhm. Now, this guy, and I think this is important to point out here,
Yeah.
Jimbo is an important part of your story.
Jimbo turns out to be a major character.
And he is not just another one of the people your mom dates.
Right.
But that seems pretty quick. She's dating Norris and then Jimbo. Like, so that last relationship fails quickly, or
Yeah. So she just basically has Bree as soon as Bree's born. So Norris is working for a company called Global Oil, and he's always out on these offshore oil derricks.
oh, so he
he's-
gets a wandering eye.
Yep, big time. So the cat's always gone, and she's always just doing whatever she wants to do. So and I know this, and Jimbo is like my buddy. I mean, he's like this great dude. You can't not love Jimbo. All the bikers look up to him. He seems to be like the leader of the pack. But
Okay.
he's got this really weird, quiet thing to him, and he's just a pretty solid dude, and he just anyway. But so when it ends up happening is so she's dating Jimbo, and Norris is always out of town. She's always banging Jimbo. Next thing you know, um, Norris is missing in Mexico. Nobody knows where he's at. So everybody's like, "Oh, what the hell?" And my mom gets the telegram that Norris has died in a motel room in Mexico.
Like drugs, or
Yeah, he actually drank himself to death. They said what he did was he drank himself to death. He's a terrible alcoholic. And he drank himself to death. And then evidently the only way they identified him was they had to have a relative or something identify him through pictures because somebody had pulled all his teeth out with a buck knife.
oh man,
They got the gold fillings.
your mom really knew how to pick a man.
She did. So
I mean,
he died. He was gone. And as soon as he was gone, so then this other kind of side story erupts. Jimbo one night is at this bar called the Bloodshot Eye, right around the corner from the apartments. Norris is missing. Things are weird, whatever. And then everybody starts talking. Oh my God, Jimbo's in jail. Well, I guess this undercover cop insulted Jimbo, called him a hippie or something like that. And Jimbo, I guess, beat him up. And then the guy called for backup, and he was a cop, so he called for backup. It was a cop bar.
And then they showed up.
And then they showed up. And then they called for backup, and they showed up. And so they sent him to Tallahassee Penitentiary and just outside of Fort Lauderdale, I think. But anyway, yeah, so Jimbo goes to prison, and Norris is dead, and suddenly we're like, oh. And my mom's phrase is always, the whole new plan. Don't worry, I've got a whole new plan.
Whole new
Whole
plan.
new plan.
Because I mean, at this point, you're only 8 years old, and she's had a lot of plans.
She's had a lot of plans.
And she just goes on and on with it. And the new plan
Is to move to Munson to be closer to Jimbo.
yeah,
So we can,
close to the jail. You want to,
yeah,
so
him in prison.
do they have conjugals back then?
So that's so funny you should say that, because we go there and we go into the visiting room and Jimbo's there and it's really neat. It's like, wow, I get to see him, but it's weird because he's in the outfit and everybody's there, and you're in basically like a cafeteria room. So you got your vending machines. It's literally the cafeteria. That's where we were visiting him.
Yeah, I've visited some inmates, and
Yeah.
I've done it in the cafeteria.
So he's like, and I remember him telling me, oh, you see that guy over there? He did this, and that guy over there, burned his whole house down and stuff. And he told me all these, so it was kind of funny because I don't remember why he told me, but it was just really interesting because I remember knowing.
Mhm.
I'm going, And as I walked around, he was visiting with mom, and I would be walking around with my little sister. And so I always kind of knew who was who. But at one point he I was getting stuff from the vending machine and everything. And we're having snacks and visiting and stuff. And then we say goodbye, and then we leave and we go back to our little tiny house in Munson. And what I didn't realize so Jimbo, way, way fast forward to 6 years ago when my pop's dying. He's got cancer.
Well, you're calling him your pops. This is
Yeah.
Jimbo.
This is Jimbo. Yeah, sorry. Big fast forward.
Yeah. So let's back up. I'm gonna
Yeah.
air brake you on that
Do
a
that.
little bit.
Do that.
Because we'll get to all that. But Jimbo, when he later on in life, he told you about something, and what was that?
So what Jimbo told me was that the reason that he had the job in the dairy at the prison and the reason he had the job so quickly and that he had all these privileges and everything like that was because on our way to the prison when my mom and I'd be in the car, what I never picked up on was that she was throwing the package out the window into the field. And it was probably heroin and cigarettes or no, it was probably just heroin. But anyway, so she would throw a load of heroin out into the field where Jimbo could find it.
Oh,
And the way Jimbo got the job in the dairy is because my mom was screwing the warden in the conjugal trailers and the guards on the whole shift. So all the dairy guard shifts, the day guards, and the warden
Linda's hooking up with all of them,
to give Jimbo privileges, rights, everything.
and
So-
she's throwing heroin in the field.
and she's throwing heroin in the field. So Jimbo's also got the giant hookup of dope, in the prison. So he's got everything.
So this goes on for a while, and at some point, your mom gets a whole new plan.
Yep, the whole new plan. Move to Hawaii.
And so this time it's time to move to Kona, Hawaii. You're
Yep.
still you've lived an entire life and you're 9 years old.
Yeah, 9 years old. The whole new plan is we're going to move to this beautiful farm. There's a ex-boyfriend of hers, just this really great guy, who owns this farm.
And it's an ex-boyfriend.
It's an ex-boyfriend. So, we're going back into old history for her. I don't actually know when they dated. It was, sometime in the 60s, 70s. I don't know.
So you move there and this guy's name is Kerry Watson.
Yeah. So Kerry Watson, we get picked up at the airport in this funky truck by these hippies, and we get taken up Mauka, which means mountainside in Hawaii. We get taken up Mauka up into the beautiful lush rainforest, and we go up in there, and we come into this enormous avocado plantation, and it's just incredible. It's blowing my mind. Everything is alive. It's just so gorgeous. We go down into this field. We drive down. We putter down into this lower area of the farm to find this little coffee shack. They call them coffee shacks because in the old days, they were actually used to dry coffee. The roofs had systems where they would pull them back on pulleys, and giant coffee trays were in there, and they would dry them in the sun.
Okay.
And then when the weather would go poop, they would just pull the roof back on them. So they always call little shitty houses coffee shacks.
Okay.
Get down to the coffee shack, and Kerry Watson walks out, and he's this little 5'6" dude, scraggly gray hair, two giant black eyes, and he's missing a couple front teeth. He looks like someone just beat the living dog shit out of him. And he walks out, and he's kind of limping because he's got a cracked rib or something. Backstory: he assaulted some prostitutes at the Matalani Hotel on Oahu, and the bouncers beat the daylights out of him.
Oh, okay.
So there's Kerry Watson. So anyway,
Give you a little insight
just a
into
little
him.
backstory. So we meet him, and he takes one look at me, and the moment my mom is not in earshot, he looks at me closely, and he gets up close to me where only I can hear his voice, and he says, "You're in a new place now. These are my rules. This is my farm. You're going to do what I say, or I will kill you.
Whoa.
And I will put you in a hole, and no one will ever find you."
And you're up in a desolate, or you're in a place where nobody is.
There's nobody around.
They could bury you easy.
Easy. I don't even know where I'm at.
And you got to think about it also from the perspective of a 9-year-old, right? Like, so my oldest kid is 10, and this would blow her mind.
Could you imagine a grown
To
man
walk up to,
saying that to your child?
just to say it in general, is like, it's crazy because they live in a different world,
Yeah.
right? And to be forced to, because that's like a grow up moment.
Yeah.
Now you weren't allowed to stay in the same place as your mom and your sister. What was your living
So the rules were
situation?
broken down pretty quick. I was going to live in a little up the road in this little kind of a shack arrangement called Shantytown. There was a school bus up on blocks. An old ex-merchant Marine guy named Huey, who had a heart of gold, but was on a constant LSD flashback. he'd basically taken so much LSD that he was constantly hallucinating.
Whoa.
So when you talk to him, he'd go, when you look around and make these noises, and you sometimes almost thought you saw him too. But anyway, so Huey was in the bus. There was a little purple shack next to it, another shack on the left. I got the little purple shack.
Mm-hmm.
The rules were you come down in the morning before school and you clean my dog's eyes. They had mucus in their eyes. He had English pit bull terriers like Spuds McKenzie, the old dog.
Yeah.
He had English pit bull terriers, and he said you got to clean their eyes. You give them their heartworm medications, fill up their food bowls, and you clean up all the dog shit in the yard before school. And then you go in and you do the dishes from the night before. And I don't want to hear you clink a single dish. I don't want to hear a dog food kernel hit that bowl. You do everything dead silent. And the problem with that is that his yard all around his house was pea gravel. So
everything's loud.
Every time I stepped, it made noise. It was so unnerving trying to be quiet as a child for fear of a beating. And the first time I missed a pile of dog shit, I knew I had missed it because I didn't have time. Because I also was not allowed to be late for school because no attention could be ever called back to the farm. So I was trying to get to school on time so I didn't get in trouble. And I saw the pile of dog shit and I skipped it and I ran. And I was going up the gravel path next to his house and I heard the door open behind me. And I heard his feet go catch up to me. And the next thing I felt was my hair. And he grabbed me by the head and he beat my face against a post. And then he threw me in the bushes. And I remember laying in the bushes pretending I was unconscious because I didn't want him to beat me anymore. So,
that's terrible.
yeah. So that was my very first sample of like, oh, he's not kidding.
Mm-hmm.
He's not kidding.
He's actually going to follow through.
And if he's not joking about that, he's probably not joking about killing me either.
Mm-hmm.
So I should probably take this individual very seriously. So I spent most of my years on the farm around that time hiding from him.
And how long did you live there?
I only lived on the farm probably for 9 years or so, because as soon as I was old enough to leave, which was pretty quick, I was off the farm. Then I was back on the farm. It was.
So you came and went a few times.
Yeah, I had to come and go a few times. I had to fall back and,
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a tough time too, because you are, when all those things we're talking about start as a 9-year-old. But when you're 5 years into it, when you're still there, Jimbo has gotten out of prison.
Yeah, so Jimbo just inexplicably shows up one day.
Was that weird for you?
Yeah, because nobody told me.
And before he gets there, Carrie is an ex-boyfriend of your mom's. Your mom clearly isn't going to stop being promiscuous. What is she doing before Jimbo gets there?
So before Jimbo gets there, I don't really see her very often
because she's way across this massive plantation.
So 90-acre farm. But the thing is that she's either with Carrie in his dune buggy flying across the terrain, or they're on some other island at a concert. There was a period of time when my mom moved to Molokai and never told me. I had no idea. So I was on the same farm and they'd be like, oh yeah, so how's your mom doing? I'm like, I don't know. She's on Molokai. I mean, how do I even know? So,
and there rules about like not telling people about your life.
No, but it was implied. It was super implied.
Because I feel like if you were to tell somebody,
anybody, well, see, that's the bitch, is that I was kind of like an orphan, but I couldn't go into the system because I knew my parents. I mean, I know my mom.
She hung on just enough for you not to get help.
But yeah, like if I had gone to the,
into the system,
they'd have been like, oh, well, we'll try to find your mom. Oh, there she is.
Well, when Jimbo gets there, it does give you slight relief.
So Jimbo shows up out of nowhere.
Because he's a guardian type character
Big
for you.
Time. And he never even said anything. He never did anything. We were just sitting in the kitchen one day, and Carrie came up to hand out paychecks because he paid the whole farm, and he came up to hand out paychecks, and I was sitting next to Jimbo, and he just looked around and he could just see that those days were over. There was no more hitting me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was done. That's the last time Carrie even almost talked to me.
He was done.
I was not his whipping boy anymore. It was a done deal.
Was he ever nice?
No.
Or never?
Nope. And then I never saw him until years and years and years later. He had to sell the farm, and he gave Jimbo a very small piece of property on the very upper farm for all his years of loyalty. He gave Jimbo this little piece.
At least he did that.
Before he sold it, he carved out this little piece and gave it to Jimbo. And that's where Jimbo died.
Wow. That's wild. Because
I was sitting in this kitchen table, so you remember the scene in Cloud City when they walk in and Lando says, I made a deal with the rebellion so I can mine my gas. And they walk in, and at the end and the door opens and there's Vader.
Mhm.
So I walk into Jimbo's shack 20 years later just to visit him. This is before he had cancer. I walk in and sitting at the end of the coffee table is Kerry Watson.
Mhm.
And I'm
Now you're a grown man.
and now I'm a grown man and I could throttle him so easily. I mean, if I
Mhm.
wanted to go there mentally or whatever. And I look at him and he's just this dried up little gray old dude. And he's just like, and he looks at me and he goes, well, look at you. And he said something shitty to me. And I don't even remember what he said, but I just remember going, wow, you're the most pathetic little thing I've ever seen. You
Mhm.
actually terrorized me.
Yeah.
You
And
real you realize I could just shake the change out of your pockets right now, but I'm not gonna. So
well, and it's those types of people who are going to hit kids. They're not. There's no tough in them.
yeah,
They're. It's a different level of pathetic. And I give you credit for not walloping them right there because I knew you near those times, at least of 20 years ago, and very strong handshake. You gave me a hug when you got here. I felt like you could have crushed my bones. So that's a good thing. It's that you did not do that and you
funny thing about
took the high road.
funny thing about uh, hitting a kid when they're really young is that they uh, I think there's a point when everybody, the cycle of violence and all that, like you get mistreated, you usually grow up and mistreat other people or whatever
Yeah.
like that. I think everybody has a point. There's a definite mental choice when something is being done to you and you can tell whether or not you're going to do that to somebody else. And honestly, being hit in the face to this day, if I ever got in a fight or anything like that, I'm not a face hitter.
Hmm.
I'll grab your wrestler, give you a noogie or something like that at the most or whatever. But man,
Yeah.
I just
A
can't.
little arm burn.
I couldn't bring myself to hit somebody in their actual face hole. Like this is where you talk and you breathe and you communicate and all those things.
Mhm.
So oddly enough, I'm not a hitter.
Yeah, which is a good thing. I think violence, especially, I mean, we're in this day and age, in the 2020s that we're in these days, it's becoming more and more frowned upon, even to do a traditional spanking situation. And just full disclosure, like, I'm raising three girls.
Yeah,
You can't be hitting them, and so for me, it's a different style of punishment and teaching and all those things, which is it is a tougher path not to go back and whack somebody. I mean, because I grew up in a time where you still did have spankings,
yeah,
but it seems to be becoming a thing that's more and more archaic. In especially with my kids, like my dad will be on the phone and be like, "God, back in the day, you would have caught a spanking for that," because he's hearing all this noise. I'm like, "Dad, they're girls. What you're hearing is actually loud joy."
yeah.
So like I can't go in when they're all having a blast and just start whooping people.
Drop the hammer on the
Yeah,
jaw.
and he gets that. He raised boys,
Yeah,
it's more of a
yeah.
Tasmanian devil thing.
Yeah, boys making that kind of noise means the next
It's
level is
war.
someone's going to have a bloody nose. There's going to be a fractured arm.
Yeah, he's on the phone ordering sheetrock
Right.
because we know we're going to have a massive hole.
Yeah.
Now, I hate to turn it back to a serious type of story, but in 1986, I was reading some of kind of like your bio about this stuff, and my eyes were just like peeled to the paper trying to figure out what happened. Now, when you're 15 years old, there's a late night party in the treehouse, and something goes down.
So, really super quick backstory. At 15, I'm a pretty big kid. Me and my buddy Josh are just thick as thieves. We do everything together. After school one day, we come home, and one of my mom's boyfriends, Mark, this dude was like, you know, being abusive and stuff. And we go down there, and I jump on him and wrestle him around. I'm a big kid. And he was a little dude. He was a 35-year-old man, stinking drunk.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was like, probably could have blown a 4.0.
Hammered.
And I'm like, I'm a big kid. I'm like, I got you now. You're messing with my mom. My buddy Josh is backing me up and he's a big kid too. So we got you. Anyway,
Mhm.
so that kind of really gave me a lot of confidence that day. And I felt like, I can take care of my mom. I can take care of the house. Everything's okay.
You're the man now.
My mom had this string of these boyfriends or whatever. So um, there was Mark, there was Dave, and then there was Billy. Billy was a different kind of breed because he was super scary. He was just really tall, athletic, very. Everybody in Kona was afraid of him. Grown men were afraid of Billy, and it was just the word on the street. You don't f with Billy. Nobody would. Nobody would dare.
Mm-hmm.
Well, true to perfect fashion, my mom ends up dating the psychoest psycho in Kona, and now he's in my house with Billy, with my baby sister and me in our zone all the time. And this is one of those weird periods where my mom actually was like, so like right before this, she's like, you need to move home. I'm back now. I'm back on the Big Island. I have a house on Napapo Road. I'm your mom. You're moving home. I'm like, okay, this is weird. We'll try again. Sure, I could try being your kid at 15.
Well, and it's your mom. You
And it's my
want
mom.
her
It is your
to be
exactly,
right,
and that's the
you
hard
know.
part to try to get to listeners is that it is still your mom.
And like she can fail you and fail you and fail you. You want that thing at the end where they come through,
You
you
just
know.
want the love.
My wife grew up with her dad not in her life, and like you could just count the repeat where they fail to follow through, or they fail to step up, and you can still sense like this in some of her siblings even more than her, just this little hope that it could be different,
Yeah, you just want the love, man. You just that acceptance, that parent, that
that you deserve.
to know where you came from,
Hmm.
to know your people. But yeah, so it had gotten to the point where she's dating Billy
Yeah.
one night, and the tree house, I have to clarify, is a full size house in a tree. It's kind of famous. They actually had to demo it a few years back, but anybody who's been to Hawaii on the Kona side has driven by it. It's in a giant mango tree. It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath with a full kitchen, everything. It has the pipes running up the middle. It was just an amazing thing. So we're up in the tree house one night, and Jimbo's there, and it was Jimbo's house. So we're up there, and we're all drinking late. Billy gets super, super drunk and gets mad about something. He perceives some flirtatiousness between Jimbo and Linda. Well, that's not hard to do when your mom has banged everybody in town.
Hmm.
So, yeah, so he's, sensed something there, he thought, and then Billy gets mad and storms out, jumps in my mom's pickup and leaves. So he's gone, and we drink into the night. And Jimbo's like, all right. So he finally drives us home. So he drives my mom, my sister, and me home, drops us off, and he goes back to the treehouse. Middle of the night, boom, boom, boom on the door. It's Billy. He's back, and he wants in. I lock the door, and he starts telling me he's going to kill me. He's like, unlock the door and let me in so I can, beat the crap out of you. I mean, he was just saying some real medieval shit to a kid.
Yeah, he's being belligerent.
And I'm not thinking that I have a chance against this guy because I'm like, he's not drunk. I'm not bigger than him. My buddy Josh isn't here. What am I going to do? So I call
Hmm.
Jimbo. I'm petrified. I call Jimbo. I'm like, Jimbo, Billy's here. And I'm like, Jimbo, hello, hello. No, Jimbo. Now what am I going to do? Billy gets pissed, gets in his truck and leaves. Then Jimbo shows up. He's like, where's Billy? I'm like, I don't know. So Jimbo goes and sits on the couch. He says, go to bed.
The Fit for Radio podcast is brought to you by the Stafford Hills Club. If you haven't been here, you have to realize that while there are great health and wellness facilities all over the Portland area, it's Stafford Hills that was named the best of them all. And when you come here, you can feel it. It's a community, stronger, faster, smarter, together. If you like the idea, you should check out staffordhills.com and send me a message. I'll get you half off your initiation, get you going, and next thing you know, you'll be looking in the mirror and be ready for that heated saltwater pool come springtime. staffordhills.com. Check it out.
So my room's right off the living room. Jimbo's sleeping on the couch. And I can't help but notice that Jimbo's got the 38 in his waistband. And so it's a 38 revolver, it's an old police pistol. And so Billy comes back a little while later, boom, boom, boom on the door. Jimbo goes to the door and he's like, get the fuck out of here, Billy. It's not happening, man. And I can tell this story pretty comfortably because everybody in the story is dead except me. So in case anybody's wondering from a law enforcement point of view.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so, he says, let me in. I'm, this and that and everything. And Jimbo's like, hey, man, just go sleep it off. Get out of here, dude, whatever. And Billy ups the ante and doubles down on some super medieval threats about what he's going to do to my sister and my mom. Use your imagination. It's bad.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, Jimbo said, and all I heard was Jimbo said, you're going downtown. And a bunch of things happened all at once. The door opened, the light came on, and the gun fired all at once. Pop, 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 pop. It was 2 to the head, 3 to the chest, and 1 left in the chamber. And I was standing with my door open, looking over Jimbo's shoulder when it happened. So I literally was looking down the barrel of the gun when it happened. So when Billy was taking these shots and stuff like that, and then he staggered backwards, and just it's pretty much like a movie. You can just use your imagination. He staggers backwards and falls over the railing out onto the porch, and I run out there, and Jimbo runs out there, and I look at Jimbo, and Jimbo's like, "Fuck!" And he grabs him, and he starts dragging him over to the truck. So I grab his hands, and I help drag him over to the truck, and then we go 1, 2, 3 into the back of the truck. He slams the tailgate. He says, "Hose this shit down. I'm going to the dump."
Oh my God.
So
Are you even thinking?
no, I I was just like, we gotta clean this mess up. We gotta clean this up right now. This has to go away. Jimbo can't go to prison.
Mm-hmm.
And so I spent the night hosing down the thing, and the blood just kept bubbling and bubbling out of the gravel and bubbling, and it wouldn't come out. And there's still and I couldn't get the blood out of the wood. And I'm washing, and I was still washing when my mom woke up the next morning. She slept through the shots. She was downstairs, passed out, drunk.
I mean, it's not
And the
funny. It
next day,
just
she's
shows
like-
the
and so then-
dysfunction in it.
And so then the next day, her truck's back, but there's no Billy. And she's like, "Well, that's weird." My mom was also pathetically stupid, so she would have been really dangerous if she had been smart and been a grifter, but she was a dumb grifter.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, so Billy disappeared. The next day in school, I'm sitting there and I look down, and I'm in, class, and I look down, there's a little spot of blood on my Reebok, and I'm like, huh.
Oh, sketchy.
And I look around, and I'm like, I wonder what everybody else did last night in my class.
Yeah. And you're just in this dysfunction, and you're just 15.
Yeah. So that happened. And then,
So-
and Jimbo always told me, said, "Hey, if you can't live with the guilt, let me know and I'll disappear. And then you can tell whoever you want."
Man.
And I was like, I'm never going to tell anybody, Pops. So I go, "Don't worry. I mean, what am I going to do?"
Yeah. And so you've lived with that. And did anyone ever come ask questions?
There's rumors about a missing persons report not being followed up on, and that the cops are secretly chuckling that he's gone. So nobody really knows what to make of it, except for that he's gone,
Mm-hmm.
and only Jimbo and I know. So the other thing to remember at that time is that Jimbo's 25-year-old girlfriend, Fawn, was also secretly grooming me to be like a partner or something. I didn't know. But I was 15 and she was 25, and I thought, wow, she's beautiful. She's interested in me.
Mhm.
I wasn't sure, and my life up to this point had not been, I had no templates to know examples of a normal, oh, this is supposed to be happening, or this
Yeah.
isn't supposed to be happening. So when I start getting come on to by an older woman on the farm, even though it's like Jimbo's girlfriend, I don't know.
Well, back then,
What?
let's
Yeah.
be honest, when you're 15 and you're a boy, you're like, yeah,
And
what's
it's a
going
hippie
on?
farm. It's like, the leftovers of free love are still percolating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
It's there.
it's there. So I'm like, oh, this is great. This is cool. It all culminates to one Thanksgiving night. We all go out for dinner. We decide we're all going to go out to Huggo's, or I forget this restaurant for, we're going to let them do the cooking. We go there, and customary, my mom orders me a couple of shots, dumps them in my Coke for me. This was standard since I was little, or since I was a teenager. Anytime we're in the restaurant together, she'd always just hook me up. It's like, like moms too.
Yeah, in a different way with your mom.
In a bizarre world. So she gives me that, and then and Fawn tells me to eat this. She sticks something in my mouth. She says, "Here, eat this." And it was a couple of hits of acid.
Oh,
So this starts. So I start. So we're sitting at the restaurant, and I'm looking at objects on the table, and they don't seem like they're like where they should be, or
it's going sideways.
yeah, physics are starting to fail me.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, whoa. And I start kind of getting this look on my face, and Fawn says, "Oh, I don't think Colby's feeling very well. Maybe I should take him home." So everybody says, "Oh yeah, good idea." Boom. Nobody asks any questions. Fawn takes the sick kid home, takes me home, lays me in bed, and has sex with me while I'm having a bad trip. So
Have you, at this point, you're 16, have you ever hooked up with a girl like that before?
no, this was my first experience.
So you lost your virginity on acid on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I'm laying on the floor in my little futon where I slept in this little room in the back, and I just remember laying on my back and hearing what I thought were bubble wrap popping in my head. Somebody popping bubble wrap.
What was it actually?
I don't know.
Nothing, just something in the ether, out in the universe that
brain cells
the
popping.
acid unlocked.
My innocence dying. I don't know what it was, but so that happened really And then so she
Did
so she
anyone
gets
ever
up.
know about that, or
Nobody ever found out, and the worst part was that I had to just kind of live with the memory of it because when it was done, I didn't really remember the act itself. But when it was done, she gets up and she said something really horrible, like, you're not even a man.
oh,
And she walks out of the room, and I remember laying there crying and listening to the sound of this bubble wrap and trying to figure out, okay, so then what is a man? What do I need to be? Like, how do I get to that point? What are my examples? Who do I follow? You
because
know,
drugs like that are already messing with your mind and sending you down rabbit holes, and then someone who's a grown woman hooks up with you as a kid,
yeah,
and then on the way out the door, as if that wasn't the crime enough,
right,
they just douse the room in gasoline by
right.
saying that you weren't good enough,
Yeah,
which
expecting
just
expecting a boy to perform like a man, and then
it's never going to
so
happen.
I've carried that with me my whole life. That's always, kind of it's just one of those things, but you cope.
Hmm. No, I get it. I get it. You were able to kind of pull out of some of that stuff though, because a couple years later, you graduate high school, you got the B average.
Yeah, I actually yeah, I was like on the B honor roll, it was kind of a big thing. And then so looking at my examples, I'm like, what do I want to do in life? Who are
Hmm.
my heroes? Who saves the day? What's going on? What do I want to be?
Yeah.
I want to be a cop. When I called the cops when I was a kid, they'd show up. My mom wouldn't be beaten anymore. Presto changeo. I want to be a cop. I want to be a hero. I want to help people.
Hmm.
So I went and took the test, took the aced the written, took the physical agility test, did really well on that. Took the psych eval, did everything, and then we were working on a job site, clearing ancient Hawaiian burial grounds, heiaus, for a golf course, so that the bulldozer operators wouldn't bulldoze the ancient burial grounds. And we're out there working one day, and this is just out of high school, and we're working, and we were drinking on the job, and this cop actually comes up to the job site, way up in the Tules, out in the middle of nowhere, up in his truck, finds us in the bushes drinking wine out of my Hawaiian buddy's water cooler. He would make wine coolers in his
Okay.
water cooler, bring it to work. We
Like
get
hooch,
Yeah, we
basically.
get shit faced and swing machetes all day.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're up there in the bushes getting drunk, and this cop shows up, and he's like, "Colby Brown, I'm looking for Colby Brown." I'm like, "Oh crap, dude, the
Warrants.
cops are here. What's up?"
Yeah.
And so I go out there, I climb out of the bushes, and he's like, "Are you coming or what?" He's like, "We're waiting for you. Like, this is the final step. You got to go take the drug test." He's like, he looked at me and he told me, he goes, "You're either going to be a party guy with your friends here the rest of your life, or you're going to become a cop. Your friends are all going to be cops. Your relatives will be cops. You be a
Hmm.
cop from now on. Choose." I'm like, "Cool, man. Bye."
And you said no.
I said, "Let's party."
And so this kind of this is all during a party time, and you're still young. You're still 18. You're just getting out of high school. Later on, though, you find yourself in the military.
Yeah.
Now,
So,
how do you go from a guy who didn't want to be a cop because he wanted to party
right. So,
to a guy who's going into the military?
so I met a woman, fell in love back in Hawaii. The whole thing was a big, sad breakup. I was super depressed. I left the island right around that time. The earthquake, LA earthquakes had just hit. And so there was tons of work in the Los Angeles area. And my uncle says, not my real uncle, but a friend of the family, Uncle Jimmy, says, "Oh, there's work over here." So I'm like, "Great." So I take off to LA to go get some of this earthquake cleanup, big bucks, prevailing wage money.
Hmm.
And when that work ran out, I ended up without a job, without anything to do. And I'm like, I need employment. I don't know what to do. So I'm like, fuck it. I went to the recruiter, and the recruiter just lit up. He's like, "Oh boy." So I went, I took the ASVAB test, that tells you how far you're going to get during your whole career in the military. I aced it. They're like, "You can be a pilot, you can be a boat operator, you can get into computers, you can get anything you want. What do you want to do?" "I want to carry a machine gun." They're like, "Ground pounders, 11 Bravo. Here you go. Click, click. There you go. Bye."
Hmm.
So they send me off to the Fort Benning, Georgia, where I go to basic training, and my shoulder comes out of socket
Uh-oh.
from a motorcycle accident I had years and years earlier.
And so I deal with this injury myself.
Yeah.
I dislocated my shoulder with a weight over my head in college, and to this day, the thing pops out.
And because as you know, the shoulder's not a true joint, it's just an arrangement of ligaments and tendons.
And once you
Yeah.
compromise that,
It
it's
just doesn't
toast.
sit right. So We're doing company PT one day. My shoulder goes out of socket real bad. They send me to the medic to check it out. They do a dye injection into the socket to see how far it's out. They measure it. They're like, "You're done. Medical discharge."
That was it?
I'm like, "You're kidding." They're like, "No, we can't use you." I was
Wow.
heartbroken because a small part of me wanted to go into combat and die.
Mm.
I mean, I'll just, now with my grown up eyes, I know why I made that
You
decision.
had a bit of a death wish.
Yeah. So, I'm like, oh, I don't get to go carry a machine gun into combat now. So now what am I going to do? So I'm sitting there and they sit you in front of the first sergeant's desk and outside this office where you have to sit and watch your company train, break down their weapons, do all this kind of stuff. And I was, what I didn't realize is that I was fast tracked, that I was actually going to be the platoon leader. But they don't tell you that. So because I had natural leadership qualities and things like that, during RBFT, rifle bayonet fighter training and things like that, I yelled the loudest, and, what makes the green grass grow, blood, and all that
Yeah, yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
I was really into it, drank the punch. I was down, shoulder came out of socket, heartbroken. What do I do?
And now you're out.
And now I'm out of the Army. So
So this leads you to going back to Kona, and you run into some drug problems.
yeah, so I go back to Kona, no job, no prospects, nowhere to live.
Yeah.
I end up flopping on couches and hanging out and just, basically just freeloading with my friends, who are all did nothing since I left, which was my nightmare, when I was a little kid. I don't want to die in Kona.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't want to be a bum,
Mhm.
And so I go back there. My friends are all just still partying and everything, except now ice has hit the market. Crystal meth's cousin, ice,
Which it's basically just a glorified meth.
whatever. I don't even really know. It's just super potent, super addictive. And I know that as soon as I smoked it, I just wanted to smoke a whole bunch more.
Addicted
And
immediately.
instantaneously. Your vocabulary goes through the roof. Suddenly you have access to words and things you didn't even know were inside your noggin. And you are functioning on a whole different level. You think it's this great thing. Your brain is just overloaded on happy chemicals.
And it's the only way that drug could work, because if it made you feel the way we see you when you're on it,
Bingo.
you would never do it, or you would never do it again. But the person on the drug thinks they're on the limitless drug.
Oh yeah. They're like, this is great. I must look amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You look terrible.
You look terrible. But yeah, so I got involved with some friends, and then swinging was kind of a thing. I was hanging out with these people, and they were smoking and hanging out. And next thing I know, I'm like, this is just the weirdest, most unhealthy environment I think I could possibly be in.
Wait a second. Back up a sec.
Swinging.
Swingers and ice. So and we're not talking about the people who sweep up immigration and all that.
No,
We're talking about the drug.
We're talking about open marriages.
Open marriages. And so are people doing these drugs and doing that, or are you doing that drug and hanging out with them?
I kind of met. They're like, "Oh, hey, how you doing? It's so nice to meet you. You're back from the Army. Look how fit you are. Wow!" And I didn't realize it, but they're sizing me up. So next thing you know, they're like, "Here, try this." I take a little puff off this stuff. I'm like, "Whoa, what's this?" And suddenly, like I said, you get all this feeling, and next thing you know,
you're in a swing session.
You're in a swing situation, and then next thing you know, you're their favorite, and then you're their regular, and then next thing you know, you're the guy. And then one night, the wife says, "Why don't you and I just run away together?"
Oh no!
And I said, "Bye."
Mm-hmm.
And I left immediately. And I told him, and I said, "Your wife just told me this. I don't want anything to do with this. I'm going to send myself to the door." Wow. And that was my brief and lurid session with not only ice, but swinging as well.
That's incredible, because most of us would, anyone who's, I'm looking at you now, you're put together, you've raised a family, and we're going to get to all that.
Yeah.
But it's a drug that most people do not come back from.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to a health and wellness club where it feels like they want you to come back? So many times I've signed up for memberships only to have them hope that the place stays empty, but not at Stafford Hills. You come in, you can feel the warmth, such a friendly staff. They know what's going on over here. And of course, you can also do personal training sessions. Their teachers are incredible. They've really dialed it in over here. So whatever you want to make of yourself, they can help make that happen for you. If you send me a personal message and say you're interested, I will get you half off your initiation here at Stafford Hills Club. And I'm telling you, Get in where you fit in. You'll be happy that you did it a couple of months down the road. And I'll see you right here in the hallways and up in the gym because I try to be here 4 times a week at least. I think some of the gym rats would say that it's more than that. Go check it out today, staffordhills.com. And swinging, it's best that these aren't people long term because that almost always just explodes
Always ends badly.
at
It
some
always
point.
starts great. It's so much fun. It's this open, honest thing.
You're like, how could it be this easy? Because it's
Because
not.
it's not, and it's terrible.
And now, that drug though, you can't just put it down.
No.
Like, there's got to be a process there. So you're high on, or you're addicted to drugs. You're just left a swinging session. How do you recover from that?
So how do I recover from it? I just basically, so to fast forward to a story where Jimbo quit heroin one time when I was a kid. He told me, you have to go to town for a couple of weeks. I got a kick. I go, what do you mean you got a kick? He was like, I'm kicking the habit this weekend. You have to go away. I'm like, all right. So he gave me a shopping list. I went and got him a bunch of food and stuff, took it back to him, and then I left. He quit heroin by himself in his house in 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I quit smoking ice. That's how I quit drinking. That's how I quit smoking cigarettes. That's how I quit all of my bad habits that I've ever had.
But 24 hours isn't enough to come back from
because it's all in your head. It's willpower. It's what you're made of, and me not knowing what I was made of, not even knowing where I came from, to meet someone who has so many deep flaws, but still can muster up that little bit of something and go, nah, I'm done with this shit. This is over. This is how you quit.
So
just put it down.
So, and I admire that,
Yeah.
and having the drive to do that, because it does take a I'm done moment. But, you talk to people who quit opiates and they get extremely ill. You talk to people who quit alcohol cold turkey. A lot of them get extremely ill, especially if their drink of choice is hard liquor.
Yeah.
And so like people who have a handful of beers, but they get a little belligerent and they quit. It's easier than people who are a true addict. Now, I have clearly never done ice before, but I would guess that there would be physical withdrawal as well. Or is it truly a mental fight?
I think if you did it for a long time, there would be. I think my dipping that toe in the water was so brief that
you were able to get away.
I dodged all the long-term effects, tooth loss. I mean, all those things. I just put my toe in the water and went, oh, that's really bad. Let's just go ahead and get out of that.
Mm-hmm. The eroding of the face and everything that comes with it. Now, you don't do this alone, though. You end up you're in Reno here at some point because your mom, Linda, she tells you that she's dying.
Yeah. So through the grapevine, I hear, oh, your mom's dying. I'm like, what? Oh, yeah, your mom's in Reno. She's dying. She's on her last leg. This is it. And so I'm like, all right. I have to drop all of my resentments. I have to drop everything and go see my mom. After all, it's my mom.
It's the end game here.
So I quit my job, gave up my rental, gave away my dog, dropped everything, flew to Reno to realize that she was not dying. She was just she had a lung removed. She had a tumor in her lung, had it removed. Now she's on an oxygen tank. So if you can think about Terminator.
Was she a smoker?
Yeah, she was a smoker. Yeah, she smoked, she drank, did everything under the sun. And so if you can imagine Terminator when all the flesh was burnt off and there was that one glowing eye and it's dragging the foot along, that's sort of like Linda in those days.
So she was deteriorated.
You can't destroy pure evil. You know what I mean? It's like the Emperor. You know what I mean? It's like
just keeps coming back
on a roll. And
but you call her pure evil, but you move back to be around her
because I couldn't let that be the end of the story. Mm-hmm. I couldn't be, oh, you weren't there for your mom.
Yeah.
You know, so I flew back there.
But that actually was a miracle.
Yeah.
Because while you're there, you decide to go to a Renaissance festival and you meet someone.
Yeah. So I met my wife, Marion. And if anybody ever doubts that true love at first sight exists, I'm here to tell you it's absolutely real. I took one look at her and I was so blown away. I wanted to spend the rest of my life with her. That was it. You see your future in someone's eyes kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It's so dorky and corny, but true.
It's true.
And that was it. And so then after that was all I wanted to do was be with her. We were living in Reno. I was in a bad way. Again, I had fallen back into drugs on a recreational level in the construction field. Everybody is 24/7 pouring concrete. We're tying steel. We're working
Are
late
they on
nights.
speed and meth, or what
Yep.
are they on?
So they called it crank. It's a bathtub version of
Yeah,
whatever it
it's
is.
like a poor man's cocaine
Exactly.
party.
So everybody's doing this crank or whatever, and I fall into that because I'm in construction. Everybody wants to work more, make more hours, make more money, get more drugs, work
Yeah,
more. So I'm chasing that cycle, and I meet her, and I realize I don't want to be a dirtbag. I
you're
just don't.
done
I want to be someone that she is going to love. And when I met her, she didn't know that I was a part-time drug user, and
because you're hiding that because
because I
you
was
like
hiding it.
this.
Yeah, because I wanted her so bad to be a
Mhm.
part of my life.
Do you
And
come clean with her on that, or do
it
you do it on your own?
she knew. She knew. We talk about it years later, and she's like, she knew every time. She knew all about it, but she was the kind of person where she knew that if she confronted me, that I would react poorly.
And you
I
could
had to make my own
distance
way, and I
yourself.
had to make my own path, and I had to learn it on my own. And she
Mhm.
let me do that. And then I say she tricked me. She took me on a road trip through Oregon, and I got to see the trees again, and that was it. I was like, we're getting out of that town.
Yeah.
We're gone.
Well, from Reno to Oregon
Yeah.
that's
And
quite the stimulation.
and growing up in Kona. So I'm like, how did I end up in Reno? Why am I even here anymore? What's
Yeah.
going on? So we left in the middle of the night on Thanksgiving. We didn't tell anybody where we were going. We packed up. I had an old military ambulance, a big old truck. We packed it full of stuff, all of our pets, everybody. We moved out in the middle of the night. We never looked back. We moved to a little town called Vida
Oh yeah.
up in and it was like I'd moved to a state park. There were giant trees I couldn't even put my arms around in the front yard. The
Mhm.
river, I could hear the river across the road, and that's where I recovered.
And I think the power of nature is underestimated.
Absolutely.
You know, and people live in parts of this country who have no idea what the Great Northwest is like. And it's like, oh yeah, there's trees and it rains.
It's like water
It's
for your soul.
yeah.
I mean,
I have a buddy, actually, he came on the show a couple weeks ago,
yeah,
Tack.
yeah,
When he would come to town, it would be sensory overload
yeah,
because, it's trees behind trees, and then a mountain.
yeah.
And then
Covered in
it's
grass.
trees, and then a river behind that leads to a mountain. And it's
Right.
like the depth
And was he
perception.
from Phoenix?
No, he's from Texas.
Texas, right,
Which is
right.
just
So
as
yeah,
much of a thing. And so,
yeah,
we are so spoiled here, but it's medicine.
yeah,
And if you go into the forest and you just sit and you listen to the sounds of the wildlife and the water and the wind through the
yeah.
trees, it's therapeutic.
My body was so sore. I just sat there, and she brought me food and soup and told me she loved me, and
Mhm.
that was it. So after about a little while of recovery, I enrolled in heavy equipment operator school so that I could advance my skills, things like that. I became a loader operator, put in 20 years at a local company, earned retirement,
Bought a home.
bought a home, had two gorgeous kids. Now I have a farm. She has an
Mhm.
arena, so we have our dream. She teaches horseback riding lessons on in her arena. I have the farm, the animals, the pets. Everybody loves me. My house is full of love.
Which
Uh,
is the important part,
it's heaven. I'm literally in heaven. I wake up every day and I'm like, I scored. I just totally scored.
Mhm. There's a thing, and I was actually just talking to my dad about this the other day, and it's like at the end of our lives, everybody always tries to think of what can I accumulate?
Yeah,
How much money can I make?
the most
Like,
toys.
how many zeros? How many toys? How many
Yeah,
houses? How many square feet? But in
yeah,
the end, the only thing that we're going to care about is time.
yeah,
And it's time with those that we love, and it's time to build memories and those types of things. And so, to me, in this world, that is riches.
exactly.
Riches is that wife who loves you, who would go to the ends of the earth for you, and you return that favor.
Exactly.
Those kids who understand what you sacrificed and what you overcame
Yeah,
to be here. And that is what allows you time with them. And so I think that if there's one, bury me with my riches, I don't care because you
yeah,
can't bury me with time.
yeah,
And so I'm glad that you were able to get out of this when you did, because you are the bloodline, you are the legacy. In 2016, your mother and both your sisters self-destruct and die within a year,
yeah,
and that's how you have the no blood relatives.
yeah. So Bree, lifelong addict, drinker, drug user, just like my mom, suddenly had, I think, kidney failure. Went into the hospital. They tried to fix her, and then she started having multiple organ failure, and she died.
Mm.
My older sister, Marnie, the three of them actually died all within 2 years. So Bree, Linda, and Marnie. Marnie had massive organ failure and was in a facility that they had to, her insurance ran out. They sent her home. They're like, look, you're under house arrest. You cannot leave the house. You absolutely cannot consume a drop of alcohol. As soon as they left, she went to the liquor store, got a handle, drank it before she left the parking lot, tripped over a parking bollard, and smashed her face in on a parking bumper.
And died that way?
No, they took her to the hospital and she died that way. But now this is the prom queen of Lake Tahoe, right? With the
Yeah.
smashed in face.
She's
Now
guacamole.
she's totally guacamole, and she won't let anybody in to see her, and she dies alone by herself because she's so vain. She won't let anybody see her face.
Ah.
Then my mom dies. Basically, same way. She ends up, the last I heard of her, she had broken both her ankles. She was on Molokai somewhere and had tricked some new idiot into believing that she was like some kind of an angel. And the guy Facebook requests me months and months ago and says, your mom was just such a wonderful lady.
Oh, man. And isn't that funny at the end? They're like this new version of them. They might try this at the end. And,
Yeah.
and granted, it's your mom, but she has a history of thinking about herself first and foremost. So I'm sorry that you had to deal with that and that you had to go through all that. Jimbo, the man that you consider your father figure, he ended up getting sick as well just 2 years later in 2018. And you went out and got a chance to say goodbye to him.
And when I did that,
that's where he told you about the conjugals and the heroin.
And that's when he dropped the bomb on me and told me all those things that I didn't know that he had never, wanted to tell me earlier. But
circle up, we're going to do a family story.
Kind of tell about your grandma. But so he dropped that on me and everything like that. Then I went back home. He passed away. But the night I was going to the night I left, the night before I left, after visiting him, I got real drunk with some friends, drank a bottle of Maker's Mark. So basically, we're sitting there drinking, and my old buddy from 20 years says, "This is it. We're going to fight." And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, he had some 20-year-old vendetta about something I said about dating his girlfriend, 25 years ago. And I'm like, dude, this is the epitome of why, I'm done. I'm just done. So we go outside. He wants to fight me. It's like a movie. I get on my knees. I'm like, dude, you can't knock me out. So just take your best swing, and then I'll leave. You can have your payback. And he wouldn't take it. My buddy Josh, of course, I call him up. He's right around the corner. He's like, I knew something bad was going to happen. Picks me up, swoops me off to his house. I stay at his house that night, and I went to sleep and realized, I'm like, that's the last drink I'm going to take. I'm done. And the next morning, I'm leaving Keohole Airport, and I'm sitting there with a horrible hangover, because that's what happens in your 50s.
Yeah.
And
also when you drink into the night and end up on your knees, hit me. Yeah, you're in it.
So I just had to use some mental leverage. And as the plane was taking off, I looked behind me and I'm like, well, that's where I'm leaving my drinking habit. And it worked.
And you got to leave it back there on the island.
Stuff, we'd have $1 million cure, but I figured out how to beat addiction, and I'm a quitter.
I think it's super cool that you did that you quit the drugs, that you got out of the cycle of abuse, these other things. And you talked earlier about how you decide in your life somewhere where you're not going to repeat these actions. And I think that all of us who are from this generation moving forward need to be the ones who change that culture of abuse, and that even that punishment, quote unquote, can be rethought and can be we can go in a different angle. I can affect my children's emotions and the way they think about something way more with my words than I can with my hands.
Exactly.
And there's no worse feeling than when you step in the direction of a child and they cower away.
Exactly.
Even if you've never put your hands on them, even me as a father and as a man and as a human being realizes that sometimes my voice gets too loud, or my shoulders come at a different angle, or I look like I'm spry and ready to pounce. You also have to work on your nonverbals and those things that happen on accident. But I'm a work in progress. You're a work in progress. But all these things are important, and I know that you have been through a lot. You've dealt with a lot of the mental health issues that come with it, a complex PTSD, along with work-related stresses and things like that came on. I admire you for doing the work and continuing to better yourself. Therapy is important.
It works.
And if if you're somebody who's thinking about those types of things, it's good to get in contact with someone, because you are not alone. You don't have to do these things.
Look into EMDR. EMDR is incredible light therapy. It's
Okay.
it tracks eye movement. It's all science based. It's incredible. EMDR for anybody
Ooh.
with post traumatic stress disorder for sure.
Well, we might have to do a whole episode on that,
Yeah.
get you back on. But this is a guy who's gone through it all, overcame a situation where even Linda, your mom, chose to party over you, but it didn't change the fact that you came out as a great human. And I'm so happy for you and your family and all the
Appreciate
animals that are out on the farm.
All our critters. Appreciate that, Drew.
And we will talk to you again soon. It's the Fit for Radio podcast, of course, filmed and recorded here at the Stafford Hills Club in Tualatin, Oregon, where you can work and play. You can even get the studio right next to me, and we can bro it out and go to lunch. StaffordHills.com. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, sir.
Cheers.